Patience and compassion.
I would think of beauty.
Affection towards one another.
Okay, you got me on that one. You got me.
Comfort and cuddling, or just like giving someone a hug.
All right, we come in this session to love language number 5, physical touch, the one that some of you have been waiting for, especially the guys, okay? Because a lot of guys equate physical touch with sexual intercourse. Yeah, that's my language, they'll say. And I say, well, let me ask you a question. Do non-sexual touches communicate love to you? And I see this question mark in their eyes. Non-sexual touches? Is there such a thing? And I say, well, when she puts her hand on your shoulder as she pours you a cup of coffee, does that communicate love to you? Or when you get out of the car and she reaches over and holds your hand as you walk into the mall, does that communicate love to you? If it doesn't, then physical touch is not your love language. I remember a husband who said to me, you know, Dr. Chapman, for the first year after I read your book, and then he corrected himself, after I skimmed your book, I thought that physical touch was my love language. He said, because, you know, to me that meant sex. But he said, I realized one day that my wife was giving me critical comments for about a week. She just was saying very cutting things to me. And he said it was like a dagger in my heart. And he said, I realized for the first time, you know, wait a minute. That's my love language, words of affirmation. And she's hurting me so deeply by these critical words. And he said, it's when I realized that we could be having good sexual relationships, but if she gave me critical words, I still didn't feel loved. And I realized words was really my primary love language. He said, now physical touch is my secondary love language, okay? So, you know, I think it is true that a lot of men jump to that conclusion. For the male, when the sexual need is not met, it becomes overpowering, and it's like it's the most important thing in the world. But if the sexual need is met, then many men will find that physical touch is not their primary love language, that emotionally they receive more love from one of the other love languages. So let's talk about physical touch. If this is your primary love language, then touches of all kinds will speak love to you. Well, not all kinds, because there are abusive touches, and those obviously do not communicate love. Physical touch is one of the fundamental ways of expressing love. I think this is seen by the almost instinctive nature we have to pick up babies and hold them and cuddle them and kiss them. Physical touch, communicating love to the baby. But it's also seen on the other end of life. I often visit nursing homes and rest homes, and I'll be walking down the hallway and there'll be an elderly person sitting in a wheelchair, and they don't even know me, but they kind of reach out and say, and I often just reach over and hug them, and you can almost feel them melt. I mean, it's a powerful communicator, physical touch. The same is true in marriage. Conversely, if you give your spouse abusive touches, it's like total rejection. Even if it is a slight push. Sometimes people say, well, my spouse overreacted. You know, I was angry and I just kind of pushed them and they overreacted. No. They didn't overreact. Physical touch is their language, and to them, that's the worst thing you could possibly do to them, is give them a little push, because it's total rejection to them. So you want to realize that when you use a person's primary love language in the opposite way, like if words is their language and you give them critical words, it hurts them more deeply than it would hurt someone else. And the same thing is true with physical touch. Not all touches are of equal value, and your spouse is the expert on himself or herself. Some people, for example, like back rubs, and others don't. Some people like foot massages, and others don't. So if you want to be sure, you ask your spouse, which touches do they find to be meaningful to them? And if they tell you that a certain touch is irritating, don't keep doing it, because that communicates, you know, I don't care what you think. I like doing this, and I'm going to do it from... No, that's not love. Love is doing something for their benefit. So if they give you the information, you know, I don't like you messing with my feet, Yeah. Well, then don't mess with their feet. You know, some people like for you to punch them and pick at them and pinch them and bite them, and other people don't. Don't bite me. So let your spouse be the expert, and don't insist on expressing physical touches that you like or you would like for them to do for you. What you want to do is communicate love. And love says, if this is meaningful to you, then I want to learn how to do this. And that's why it's worth some money. If back rubs or massages, you know, your spouse really likes that, you might go just take a course in how to give a body massage. It'd be a good investment of money for you to learn how to do that. Now, if they don't like that, don't waste your time and don't waste your energy. Don't assume that a touch that makes you feel loved would make your spouse feel loved. And don't insist in doing it if they tell you that they don't like it. There are implicit and explicit touches. Explicit touches require your full attention, such as a back rub or a body massage or foreplay leading to intercourse. I mean, it's your full attention. I mean, you're totally involved in this. It's time, it's energy, it's effort, okay? On the other hand, there are implicit touches that take just a moment. You're walking in the kitchen, both of you are in the kitchen, and you just kind of rub your body up against their body as you walk past them. Or you're sitting on the couch and you reach over watching television, you reach over and just put your hand on their leg or put your arm around their shoulder. It only takes a moment, but it's almost without thinking you can do those. But if this is their primary love language, those things are very, very meaningful to them. If you discover that physical touch is your spouse's primary love language, then let's get on with learning how to do it, okay? Maybe you're not comfortable touching because you grew up in a home where you didn't get a lot of touches. It was not a touchy-feely family. People often tell me that. But you can learn this, as in all the other languages. You know, a little kiss as you leave the house, or a little hug when you get home in the afternoon. If this is your spouse's love language, I can tell you those things are very, very meaningful to them. Maybe you're not an under-the-table toucher. You haven't ever thought about just a little touch under the table. But if it's their love language, I can tell you, it'll make dinner a whole new experience for you. Or maybe you'd never thought about when you get in the car to go on a trip across town or back home, just reaching over and give them a kiss before you leave. Yeah, but if you try that, the trip may be a lot different. In fact, the trip may get delayed. Huh? That's what some of you are thinking. Maybe you were brought up not to hold hands in public. But if this is your spouse's love language, I suggest you learn how to hold hands in public. Yeah. I mean, after all, didn't Jesus say, this is the way they can tell that you belong to me, by the way you love each other? So what's wrong with showing a little affection between a husband and wife in public, you know? And if it's meaningful to your spouse, then by all means, you want to learn to do that. Remember that to touch a person's body is to touch them emotionally. Let me demonstrate that for you. A common handshake in our culture basically says, I recognize you as a person worthy of talking to. I'm open to conversation with you. It's a friendly social gesture. But on those rare occasions where a man refuses to shake hands with another man, you know something's wrong. There's something has happened. There's something between those two people. Well, the same thing is true in marriage. When you freely touch each other, everything is rolling fine. But when you draw back and don't touch your spouse, it communicates something's wrong. Either I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm disappointed, I'm frustrated with you. But when you withdraw from my body, you withdraw from me emotionally. A lot of times we don't realize that, but it's very, very true in a marriage relationship. We talked in our last session about times of crisis. Physical touch in times of crisis, if it's your spouse's language, can be the most important thing you can do. I remember a wife who said to me, he sat there and watched me cry when our baby died, and then he walked out of the room. How could he be so cruel? All I wanted was for him to hug me. And she was saying this 10 years after the event. You understand what she's saying? I was in pain, and all I wanted was a hug. Now, I'm sure He walked out of the room because he didn't know what else to do. Physical touch was probably not his love language. He was pained as much as she was pained. But you understand, by withdrawing from her, he was telling her, you have to suffer alone. I'm not with you in this. I'm sure he was with her, but she didn't feel that he was with her. When you hug a person in crisis, it's like wrapping them with love, especially if physical touch is their primary love language. If physical touch is your spouse's primary language and their love tank is empty, I can tell you they're hurting. I've known people that would actually wait to see how long it would take their spouse to reach out and touch them. One man said, we went 6 weeks before she reached out and touched me. Finally, she walked up to me one day and kissed me on the cheek. He said, I almost cried. You see, if this is not your love language, you have a hard time understanding that, how a person could be that pained by your not taking initiative to touch them. But if it's your love language, it says they don't really love me. It's been 6 weeks since they touched me. Now, wouldn't it be better to request a touch rather than suffering for 6 weeks in silence or 6 months in silence? Wouldn't it be better to say to your spouse, you know, honey, I need a hug? I bet they'd give you one. You know, honey, I need a kiss. Chances are they'll give you a kiss. Now, some people say, yeah, but if you have to ask for it, it's just not as meaningful. Well, it's better to ask for it and get it than not to ask for it and wait 6 months, for them to come up with the idea. It's like in all the other love languages. We have to give our spouses information, and requesting a touch is far better than suffering in silence because they're not taking the initiative to do it. For those who didn't grow up in a touchy-feely family and who really don't feel comfortable with touches, one of the things I say is start with something simple, like a pat on the back. Think you could do that? Just a little pat on the back. You can even pat them on the back and run if you want to. And the second time you'll pat them on the back and you can stand there beside of them. And then maybe you can just give them a light little hug. Doesn't have to be anything too heavy, just a light little hug. Or maybe just a kiss on the cheek. And every time you touch, it becomes more and more comfortable for you to touch. We learn this love language like we learn all the other love languages. We learn by doing. If you want to get extra points, find your spouse in a family gathering. When everybody's around, everybody's talking, the house is full of people, and find your spouse and walk up to them and give them a little kiss on the cheek. I can tell you, if this is their love language, it's the most meaningful thing you can do. Because many times in a family setting, when the house is full and everybody's buzzing, spouses don't see each other the whole evening. They're both busy entertaining other people. And if physical touch is their language, I can tell you, for you to walk up and kiss them on the cheek or give them a little hug, it says, honey, in the midst of all these people and everything we're doing, you're still important to me. I love you. You get a lot of extra credit when you love them in front of other people. Well, where do we get the motivation to speak any of these love languages? It's easier just to relax and be who you are. But I can tell you this, if you relax and just be who you are, chances are you will both live with empty love tanks. Love takes effort. Love takes information, and love takes the choice. I choose to do these things because I want to express love to my spouse. I'm going to tell you where I got my motivation. In our marriage, we struggled for a long time. That's probably why I do what I do in trying to help families, because I know what it is to be married and miserable. And I remember the day I said to God, I don't know what else to do. I've done everything I know to do, and our marriage is not getting any better. And I don't know what else to do. As soon as I finished that prayer, there came to my mind the picture of Jesus on his knees washing the feet of his followers. Remember, we talked about that? And it was like I heard God say to me, that's the problem. You don't have the attitude of Christ towards your wife. You don't have the attitude of loving her and serving her like he did. And it hit me like a ton of bricks because I knew it was right. You see, in the early years of my marriage, my attitude had been, look, woman, I know how to have a good marriage. If you listen to me, we'll have one. And she wouldn't listen to me, and I blamed her for our poor marriage. But that day, I got a different message. The problem is you and your attitude. And I said to God, Lord, give me the attitude of Christ toward my wife. In retrospect, it was the greatest prayer I ever prayed because it changed my heart. I'll tell you the 3 questions that made this practical for me. In fact, this is how I learned my wife's love language before I ever knew there was a love language. I asked these 3 questions. They're simple questions. Honey, what could I do to help you? How could I make your life easier? How could I be a better husband to you? And do you know that when I was willing to ask those 3 questions, my wife was willing to give me an answer. And you understand what she's doing in her answer? She's really teaching me her love language. I didn't know that at the time. But when I asked those 3 questions, she told me how I could love her. And when I began to love her, it was about 2 or 3 months, she started asking me the same 3 questions. And now she was learning my love language. We've been walking this road a long time. I have an incredible wife. In fact, I said to her the other day, you know, honey, if every woman in the world was like you, there'd never be a divorce. Why would a man leave a woman who's doing everything she can to help him? You know, speaking my love language every day. And my goal through the years has been to so love her that when I'm gone, she'll never find another man to treat her the way I've treated her. Huh? You see, when we have the attitude of Christ toward each other, then all we need is the information. Just tell me what to do. I'm ready to do it. And to me, that's the key to motivation, is having the attitude of Christ toward your spouse. After all, isn't the whole theme of the Christian life to serve others? Why not start at home? And if I find out that physical touch is your language, or words of affirmation, or quality time, or acts of service, or gifts, then let me learn how to speak that language. Because deep in my heart, I want you to know I love you. And when we apply this, it changes the whole emotional climate in a marriage. The love tank fills up, and now we are free to do the things that we have been called to do in life, to use our abilities and our interests to enrich the lives of others. That's what life is all about. But it starts in the marriage.